Hi, everyone. I'm in California right now. It's beautiful weather outside. I love to show you. But plus 24 degrees Celsius outside, so beautiful. But I always have time to talk about Omai. I think this is a very special deposit that we now have. And as potential investors, I think this is something that people will want exposure to. If it previously produced 3.8 million ounces at 1.6 grams, so a great deposit, great grade, but a lot of gold was left behind because of the market environment at the time. It was a previous operating asset from Cambior and IM Gold, and we think we have potentially one of the better projects in the Guyana Shield, and I'll try and explain to you why I think there's a lot of gold here at Omai. In terms of where this is located, I think this is really important because, again, this being a former producing asset, there has existing infrastructure. It's easy to access the mine. You can get there by road, but more importantly, there's an airstrip at site, so we could also get there by air. In addition to that, of course, being in the Guyana Shield, we think, geologically, this has potential to be a very big system. And what was mined in the past, we believe potentially could be the tip of the iceberg. And I'll try and explain to you why we see that. But in terms of the Guyana Shield, as you know, world-class assets have been discovered all over the Guyana Shield, the majority of them on the African side. But when you go on to the Latin American side, there really is limited amount of exploration, but there have been some fantastic discoveries, Omai being one of them, but more recently, Rosabelle and Marion being operated by Newmont, some great world-class discoveries. This is an image of what Omai looked like when it was previously being operated by Cambior and IM Gold. This has all now been reclaimed other than a couple of buildings, which we have now are using for our core shed and sleeping facilities. But there is no environmental liabilities here. This is a fully reclaimed site, reclaimed by a world-class companies such as IM Gold. But what they did was leave a lot of gold behind. I think for us to now prove to the market that what was mined previously is just the tip of the iceberg. And I think this slide is probably one of the best in this presentation because it really shows you how limited the Omai Gold Mine was drilled. Even though there was 3.8 million ounces there, there's only 87,000 meters of drilling. And when you compare it to Rosabelle at just under 800,000 meters drilled, or Marion Mine that Newmont is operating at 500,000 meters drilled, Omai has seen very little drilling, even though it was a high grade, large deposit. And I'll show you why we think more meters drilled will result in quite a bit of more ounces discovered at the Omai Gold Mine. This is a great Google map. The Fennel pit and the Wenot pit were the two of the pits that were mined. But you can see along strike at Wenot, there is quite a bit of mineralization all along that trend. And at Fennel, what's quite interesting, we do see potential to the west of Fennel, but more importantly, at Broccoli Hill, which is a key exploration target for us, there's been really no drilling east of Fennel. And Broccoli Hill, we think, is the prime exploration target for a new discovery. The geophysics, which we just recently ran, what's interesting is we think there is a big system here in the intrusive, which is related to both the Fennel pit and the Wenot pit. And we've done that through some MET testing, and we actually had a PhD student write a paper on it. But we believe it's all coming from the same intrusive source. But what we learned, though, is that Fennel is a mag low and Wenot is a mag high. And it really opened up the potential to really look for targets along our land package. And we identified a number of targets, both Wenot style and Fennel style mineralization. And there's a 3D image of our geophysics. And the one I want to highlight right now is Broccoli Hill. And I'll get to that a little bit later. But Broccoli Hill is a real key exploration target for us. This is the drilling that occurred at Wenot and Fennel, and what really highlights for all of us is limited drilling at Wenot, which is to the left, and at Fennel, where they stopped mining at around 200-meter depth, is because they hit a non-mineralized dike that was about 100 meters thick. But they did drill below the dike, and they hit quite a bit of high-grade, wide zones of mineralization. But with the market environment at $300 per ounce range in the mid-2000s, the decision was made by Gold to no longer drill and explore at Omai and to move the mill to Roosevelt. And no one can fault them. Roosevelt has proven to be a great big discovery, but what they left behind, we think, here is another great potential ore body, and we think we're going to have some great discoveries here as we continue to drill. This image here on slide 12 is really important because this is the blast hole data that we're able to get from Iron Gold. And what it really shows here, you have these real high grade structures that are running through the pit. And those high grade structures more or less continue below the pit and below the dike. So we're pretty confident that, this mineralization, because it is in the greenstone type belt, will continue to depth. If you want to drill to 2,000 meters, we're hopeful that you'll continue to see mineralization. But we do know for a fact 41 or 46 holes were drilled below the dike. And what's really impressive here, and they were drilled to a maximum depth of 900 meters, which ended in mineralization. What's really impressive here, though, is within those 46 holes, there are 41 intervals of 31 grams or greater over a meter or greater. I mean, that is an astronomical amount to have drilled. And you can see some of the drill holes that have been intercepted here at Fennell at depth, 143 meters at 2.6 grams, 101 meters at 35 grams. There's a very high grade multi-thousand ounce interval within that, 49 meters at 25.7 grams per ton. So we know we have some real high grade, thick intercepts below the Fennell pit. And historically, it's a non-431-101 compliant resource, so it's historical. But Iron Gold estimated between 1.5 to 2.5 million ounces below the pit. And that was based on whether you cap the grades or not. But we think the grades are actually higher because they estimate the grades below approximately 2.5 to 4 grams per ton. But we think the grades are potentially higher because when they use their composites, they use 3-meter composites, which is what you would use potentially for an open pit. And this is underground mining. So we think you could really increase the grade here as you go below the dike. So we see lots of potential at Fennell, and obviously there is quite a bit of ounces here, and this deposit is wide open to depth. So we're really excited to eventually get under Fennell and continue drilling the discovery below the dike. And you can see here some of the high grade gold that you will find at Fennell. This is really interesting for us. I mentioned a little bit earlier Broccoli Hill, and Broccoli Hill is just to the east of Fennell. And it is our #1 exploration target in terms of what we think we would want to put a drill in right now. But we have a number of additional exploration targets, but this is the most advanced. And you can see here the mineralization that is to the east of Fennell. We think it's actually not related. But again, you had a big system here that was coming through. And we think just like Roosevelt, just like Marion, what you're going to find are multiple pits. Some could be 500,000 ounce. Some could be 1 million ounces. In the case of Fennell and Wenot, they're 1.6 million ounces, but only mined to 200-meter depth. And Broccoli Hill, we think, and potentially could be something similar or even larger potentially because the geophysical anomaly is quite large here. But you can see it's quite mineralized. We've got auger drilling here that shows mineralization, 4 to 6 meters of 12 grams. We're really excited to move to Broccoli Hill, and this is going to be a real important target for us and the market to really pay attention to, because if we can demonstrate, not only is Fennell open to depth and on strike, or at least to the west, same with Wenot, which is open to depth and on strike. If we can show potential for more deposits and new discoveries here, I think this will really be the project in the Guyana Shield for anyone to invest in. In terms of Wenot, again, this mined around 1.8 million ounces at 1.6 grams. You can see here a couple of key points that I want to highlight. This is the former, an image of while it was in production. The mill site, which is to the west, was moved to Roosevelt, but there was mineralization below the mill site, and Iron Gold made the decision to move the mill to Roosevelt rather than move the mill to another location here. The other key point is the sediments. And we do know, for example, at Roosevelt and Marion, that there is mineralization in the sediments, but it was never really looked at here in terms of potential for mineralization in the sediments. And we have indication from the old drill holes and what's been drilled in the past that the sediments are actually mineralized. And this is quite important because if we can show ore grade in the sediments, not only you're going to get more gold at Wenot, but the strip ratio will also decline in terms of mining Wenot as you continue to move to depth. And we are very confident that Wenot will extend to depth and on strike. And you can see in this image here, ore grade intercepts on strike to the east and to the west of Wenot. So we're pretty confident this will extend on strike. And then below Wenot, we are very confident as well that Wenot will continue to extend to depth. And again, using blast hole data, and you're basically lying down looking up into the sky here. And really what you see here at Wenot is you have two parallel structures that carry a lot of the gold here that continue to depth. There's no reason why this won't continue. It was really a lack of drilling and exploration that caused Omai Gold and Cambior to stop mining at Omai. And you can see some drill holes that were drilled below Wenot, and basically you can see similar type grades that were mined in the pit. 27 meters of 1.6 gram, 17 meters of 4.4 grams. And there's a couple of holes that were drilled below the pit that have never been assayed by the prior operator. And we're confident as well that those holes will be mineralized. We don't know what the grade is, but we are cutting the core as we speak. And I would hope to have assays out in the coming weeks. And I think that's something that will demonstrate to the market that Wenot is wide open to depth. And we could add a lot of ounces very quickly here by continuing to expand Wenot to depth. As I said, there's about 1.8 million ounces mined to about 190 meter depth. You can do your own math if you extend that to 300 meters or 400 meters or 500 meters. And you can see very quickly that you can build a lot of ounces here, not even considering what's available on strike or even in the sediments for that matter. This is a great image just showing you that we're pretty active here. We're able to reclaim about 5,000 meters of core. We have our geos at site now, logging the core and obviously cutting the core to get it ready for assaying. So we think there's potential here to show the market, again, that Wenot will extend to depth. And that's going to be really important for people to understand the potential of Omai. We expect to be listing in the middle part of November, so pay real close attention. I think by the time of this presentation, we will have started to trade. And I think this is one that everyone should pay close attention to. And then in terms of the board, I'm not going to go through all the board members, but you can see we have here, a Class A team board, which will continue to support the company and ensure that we're successful in the capital markets. But what I really want to point out is our first class technical team. Dennis Lapointe, who is very well recognized as one of the best geologists in the Guyana Shield, is our VP of Exploration. And Linda Hesterman, who worked at Cambior and Omai Gold and worked at Omai, knows this deposit really well. So we really have a first-class team to really advance the Omai deposit. And that's really important when you're working in new frontiers. Guyana obviously has been around for some time, but working in Latin America, you want to have a strong technical team on the ground, which is what we have here. In terms of our capital structure, we have about 200 million shares outstanding, and we have very strong shareholder support. Silvercorp owns just under 16% of the company, and Sandstorm owns just under 11% of the company. And based on that, I think going forward, we're always going to have that strong backing as we continue to advance this discovery. Thank you very much for your time. I think this is something you should pay close attention to, particularly once we start drilling and getting some assays out, because I think this is something the market is really going to be interested in seeing how we can advance Omai and bring it back to its heyday of large discovery and large ounces being produced. Thank you.